us a note in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Always excited to see folks from all over the country join us on these calls. We have an excellent call tonight. We have a candidate for Ohio's 11th Congressional District, Senator Nina Turner, joining us. We have Jeremiah Ellison, who's running for the Minneapolis City Council, District 5. And we will also be hearing from Felicia Singh, who just won her primary for New York City Council District 32. So it's going to be an exciting call. We'll be talking a little bit about budget reconciliation, about fossil fuel subsidies, Medicare expansion. And of course, we can't do any of this work without your support. So if you can, please become a movement builder. Join us. The link is going to get dropped in the chat. I see Linda is joining us from Louisville, Texas. Hello, Linda. Great to have you on. I see Deb from Vermont. Great to see you, Deb. I think you've been to a few of these calls. I think I've shouted you out before. Thank you so much. Tom is watching us and joining us from Berkeley, California. Good to see you, Tom. I see Falaida Belliard. I hope I didn't massacre that name, from New York. Mark from Rhode Island. Alan from South Carolina. Good to see you, Alan. I know I've seen you several times. So again, we're going to have a great call tonight. 8:30, we'll get started. And we're going to hear from Senator Nina Turner, who's running for Congress in Ohio. I think you all know that. I don't need to say it, but just in case. Jeremiah Ellison, who's running for Minneapolis City Council, and Felicia Singh, who just won her primary for New York City Council. I'm sorry, Felicia was an OR endorsed candidate, and we were so excited to see her win. Again, if you're watching, please let us know in the chat where you're watching from. I see Joan and Bob from LA via Chicago, or Chicago via LA. I don't know, that's a long distance, but good to have you guys here. I see Dick from Pontiac, Illinois. Good to see you. I see Russ, who's in Ohio, in Nina's district in Ohio 11th. So hope you're texting and phone banking and canvassing Russ so we can get Nina Turner in Congress. Yeah, so again, if you can become a movement builder, this allows us to do the work we're doing, supporting the candidates that I've mentioned, campaigning on issues like expanding Medicare and Medicare for all, fighting fossil fuel subsidies, et cetera. So if you can, consider becoming a member. You'll get a nice card and access to some cool members only stuff like stickers and other things. So really excited to have you guys. Again, I see Mary from Moose Lake, Minnesota. Nice to see you, Mary. Great to see all these folks tuning in. John Walsh in Alexandria, Virginia. Good to see you, John. I see Ken, who sends greetings to everyone. He's in Silver Spring, just up the road from where I'm at in Washington, D.C. Good to see you, Ken. I see Andrew from Congressional District 8 in Northern Virginia. We're going to be hearing from Kristen Hoffman, who's one of our leaders in Our Revolution, Virginia. So she I'm sure, will recruit you to do something for us. We also have Maureen in Saratoga Springs, New York. Good to see you. I see Pamela in Central Florida. Lucero from South Carolina. Great to see you, Lucero. Un abrazo por allá. And Kristen says, happy birthday, Andrew. So big shout out to Andrew. No better way to celebrate your birthday. We'd sing for you, but we sing other songs on this call. So John Duval from Rohnert Park, California. I hope I pronounced that right. Good to see you, John. And I think we're getting ready here to get started in a little bit. Again, my name is Paco Fabian. If you can, become a movement builder. Only $5 a month allows us to support candidates like Nina Turner and Jeremiah Ellison and folks like Felicia Singh. It also allows us to campaign on the issues that are closest to us, Medicare for all, expanding Medicaid, ending fossil fuel subsidies, fighting for good jobs, raising wages, etc. So it is now my pleasure to turn it over to our hosts. Hosts, take it away, please.
All right, Paco, thank you so much. I really appreciate your introduction. I'm Hal Ginsberg, and I'm a coordinator at Our Revolution. I am your co-host tonight, along with Virginia's Kristen Hoffman. Every Monday night, over 5,000 members from coast to coast join our national call via Zoom, Facebook, and by phone. we discuss how we can best advance the political revolution on a weekly basis.
Our mission is simple: to organize a national network of grassroots groups and chapters that hold politicians accountable, elect progressive champions, fight for progressive policies, and build a more progressive Democratic Party. We have a great lineup of guests tonight with special guests, Our Revolution Chair Larry Cohen, Senator Nina Turner, Minneapolis City Council member Jeremiah Ellison, and Felicia Singh. Back to you, Hal.
Budget, yeah, thanks, Kristen. Senate Budget Chair Bernie Sanders says the current proposed budget is the most significant piece of legislation since the Great Depression. Joe Manchin, on the other hand, well, he's got reservations. What is undisputed is that the reconciliation package will help us make progress toward our revolution's top 5 issue priorities, especially healthcare, climate change, taxing the rich, and good union jobs. Here to tell us much more is Our Revolution Chair, Larry Cohen. I think you're muted, Larry.
Yep, sorry about that. It's only, anyway, great to be with everybody. Thanks, Hal. So this is what I'd call a complicated time. You look at those 5 priorities that just flashed up there. They're all on the line at the same time. That's my new rescue dog. They're all on the line at the same time. And on the one hand, voting rights, which comes out first, is Senate Bill 1, and that's facing the filibuster. And our demand, and we've been a part of this work for years, that the Senate change its procedure and use its majority to put that bill on the floor in the next few weeks and stop the worst voter repression this country's seen in decades. And so that's about not so much changing the rules, eliminating the filibuster, it's make them talk and use the 50 senators plus the vice president to get that bill on the floor, to make them talk and then to call for a final vote. That can be done without abolishing the filibuster. That's much harder to do, and we don't have the votes today. And at the same time, these are all going on together. And our revolution work of linking together the elections with these issues is the critical work that very few groups do. It's not just do issue mobilization, it's make them understand that if they don't act, we will work in primaries and in general elections to get rid of them. And so then we come to the other 4 items on that list. All 4 of those items are tied up in what's called budget reconciliation. Budget reconciliation, again, is a process where only in the Senate and the House, you need a majority like on everything else. The rules are simple. On the Senate side, if you do a budget reconciliation bill, which can only be done this year and twice, normally once in any calendar year, you only need 50 votes to pass that bill. It comes from a decades long ago legislation that realized that in many U.S. Senate situations, there wouldn't be 60 votes to have a budget and the government would shut down. So they came up with budget reconciliation. So this is where our mobilization comes in. So our second key issue, besides voting rights, Medicare for all. We're not getting Medicare for all, but we have a fight to try to get pieces of Medicare for all that are incredibly important to people. Lowering the age for Medicare from 65 to 60. That is a life-changing thing. That can be put in a budget bill and passed with a majority in the Senate, a majority in the House. Medicare and Medicaid, negotiating pharma, that can be done. And that would cut pharma prices by 40%. VA pharma prices are 40% lower. And this seems crazy. Why wouldn't we be able to get this done? Because of pharma industry lobbying. That's why. Anyway, Pramila Jayapal, who's been on many of these Monday night calls, and the Progressive Caucus have all of these items as their priorities. So number 2 is to expand Medicaid, bring down the age, negotiate pharma prices, include in Medicare things like vision and dental care that are now not included. Number 3, climate change, the cutting edge issue this year on a federal basis. And there's our great rally flashed up on the screen. The cutting edge issue is to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies. The United States has been called out on this all over the world by all the leading progressives and environmentalists. We're the only country of the wealthy countries that gives gigantic fossil fuel subsidies at the same time that our politicians talk about renewable energy and green jobs. And even many of the ones who talk about green jobs don't talk about ending fossil fuel subsidies. We can't continue to inflate the profits of the fossil fuel industry, who then does new drilling with new permits. And at the same time, we should be shutting down fossil fuels. We're still expanding them. California alone, Newsom, the governor there, Democrat, has signed off on 20,000 new permits for new drilling in California alone. We need to shut down these subsidies. If we shut down the subsidies, that'll begin to pressure the fossil fuel companies to end new permits and new drilling. That's a simple step we can take. Again, this budget year, the Senate Finance Committee passed that already. Now we need House Ways and Means. We got a lot of Massachusetts people on here. They're going to have a whole call on this on Sunday night. Richie Neal, Western Massachusetts, chairs Ways and Means. Earl Blumenauer, who spoke at that rally, made it very clear at that rally. He's a senior member of that committee. He will be fighting to end the fossil fuel subsidies and do exactly what the Senate did in Senate Finance. It's the same budget bill. This is not hopeless. It is hard, but we've got to fight with every one of the Democrats. No Republicans are going to vote for any of these things. That we're not a baseball team rooting for our team. We're demanding real change from these Democrats. Tax the rich, the fifth item. The tax bill that will be in the Senate and the House is definitely going to have raising funds on those who benefited from the Reagan tax cut. And so, again, Ways and Means, end the fossil fuels, tax the rich. And finally, pieces of the PRO Act, not sadly the main parts, but pieces of the PRO Act, which is protect the right to organize, can be put in that same budget bill. Pieces that say that companies who break the law can get fined in meaningful ways. Right now, those fines are meaningless. So what's the overall message here? The overall message here is that we need to mobilize this summer. This bill will come to a head in the early fall. We need to mobilize this summer with every Democrat that we can move in the Congress, the House and the Senate, to say we won't wait. We can't wait. Just like the Progressive Caucus has said, all 5 of these items are targeted by them as priorities for the budget bill. And there will only be one more budget bill this year. There won't be another budget bill next year in all likelihood before the election. So this is the time that our work comes together. This is the time that our strategy, we're going to hear from amazing candidates on this call. We hear from them every week, but we've got to link this work together. We're not here for the candidates. We're here to change our lives. This budget bill will be a showdown, just as Senate Bill 1 will be a showdown. And it's all on the line for Democrats to step up, to live by the platform that was established last summer at the Democratic Convention, and to make meaningful change possible. So I couldn't be prouder of the work that our Revolution staff are doing. You see many of them on these calls, local organizers as well around the country. We need to all step up and support them at the same time that we volunteer on these issues, that we volunteer in elections. And together, if we build this movement, we can make a difference this year, not way into the future, on the issues that our members have voted to fight for. We can fight for them and we can win when we organize this year. Thank you, Hal.
All right. Thank you so much, Larry. As Larry made very, very clear, this moment is critical. And we're going to get back to Larry in a few minutes just before we introduce our very, very special guest. But we are mobilizing right now to hold Democrats accountable on our issues. This week, our Revolution Ohio state organizer Diane Morgan testified at an Expand Medicare Now town hall with Representative Pramila Jayapal. Diane spoke about the unique challenges older Americans, including small business owners who can't afford healthcare premiums, face due to our inadequate healthcare system. It's important to recognize that our fight to expand Medicare doesn't mean, though, we're abandoning the fight for single-payer health care universally. Our Revolution Maryland, my state chapter, continues to organize for Medicare for All in House Democratic leader Steny Hoyer's backyard. As a result, the Minneapolis City Council became the second major Maryland jurisdiction to pass a resolution calling for universal single-payer coverage, both at the federal and state level. We simply cannot let Diane and other older Americans fall through the cracks, or any American for that matter. We must organize to get our priorities over the finish line. Call your senators right now and urge them to support Medicare expansion. Our dialer system will automatically connect you. The link will be in the chat. Congress must strengthen Medicare in its final reconciliation package. Take action now. Call your senators. The link is in the chat.
Not only are we fighting to expand healthcare, we're also fighting to save the planet by ending fossil fuel subsidies. Just like Larry mentioned earlier, we have been hammering this message over and over. We're pressuring Congress to eliminate the $15 billion in annual taxpayer-funded subsidies. We sent a letter signed by more than 500 groups to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Also, this week, Our Revolution New Jersey held a pop-up protest outside an event held by Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm and U.S. Representative Frank Pallone. He's the chair of the powerful House Energy and Commerce Committee. During the protest, Morgan Spicer from Our Revolution Monmouth County said, "It is unconscionable that even in the middle of a devastating climate crisis, highly profitable oil and gas corporations are still receiving taxpayer funding." And that's why Our Revolution is demanding that Democrats use the budget reconciliation to end these handouts to polluters and instead use those billions for real climate solutions. It's time to take action. And we are doing the critical organizing in the battle over the budget, but we can only win with your support. Hal, please tell them more.
Yes, we are doing the critical organizing in the battle over the budget, but we can only win with your support. Massive corporations and their lobbyists are mobilizing vast sums to defeat us. Our revolution is wholly reliant on sustaining members and small dollar contributions to support our organizing. If you are already a movement builder, thank you. And if not, please sign up. Sign up at the link in the chat or press *3 if you're calling in, and an operator will take your information. ourrev.us/2021 member is the URL. Passing the budget is a critical fight, but is not the only one. We must also confront Republican intransigence and efforts to disenfranchise tens of millions of Americans. This week, President Biden warned, we're going to face another test in 2022, a new wave of unprecedented voter suppression and raw and sustained election subversion. We have to prepare now. Biden called defending the right to vote a national imperative.
Subsequently, Our Revolution's executive director, Joseph Gevarghese, told The Hill that the president's speech was symbolically important. It signals to the base, keep fighting on this issue. But Joseph also lamented that Biden's silence was deafening on the filibuster question that would make protecting voting rights a reality. So we're doing more than letter writing and interviews. Our state chapters are mobilizing on the ground to protect voting rights. In Colorado, our members rallied for voting rights outside the baseball all-star game in Denver, which was relocated from Atlanta to protest the passage of the recent Georgia voter suppression law. Hal, what's happening in West Virginia?
And in West Virginia, Our Revolution members are marching on Manchin. We gathered outside his Fairmont office to support the For the People Act and to demand he stand up to the GOP attack on voter rights. Our Revolution endorsed Texas state representatives are doing just that. With Texas Republicans trying to pass new restrictive voting measures, Texas progressives literally led the charge to D.C. Our Revolution-backed Representative Jasmine Crockett arrived in Washington first, followed closely by Representatives Vicki Goodwin, James Tallarico, and others. After these Texas Democrats left the Lone Star State, the Texas House lacked a quorum and the GOP's anti-democratic legislation was blocked, at least for now.
As you can see, Our Revolution members are on the front lines, fighting the filibuster and protecting voting rights. That's why the right wing is going all out to defeat us in 2022 and beyond. So we need to fight back now with everything we've got. Please become a member and help us protect the right to vote so we can keep electing progressive champions and advancing our progressive issue agenda. If you're already a movement builder, thank you very much. If not, please sign up. You can sign up at the link in the chat, or if you're on the phone, please press *3 and an operator will take your information. If you'd like to go online, the link is https://ourrev.us/2021 member. While we're speaking about voting, let's also talk about why we vote. We vote so that our movement can build a bench of progressive champions to fight the far right. And that's what our revolution is doing. We're halfway through the 2021 cycle, and we're proud to report that 73% of our revolution endorsed candidates won their races. So far this year, we've elected 118 progressive champions to serve as mayors, district attorneys, city councilors, and school board members.
Even though we've won, our work is not done. Our revolution is gearing up for the second half of 2021 with Nina Turner's race for Congress in Ohio's 11th district on August 3rd and Jeremiah Ellison's ongoing re-election campaign to the Minneapolis City Council. We're going to hear from SNT and Councilman Ellison in a moment. But first, please consider becoming a member and supporting our electoral work. You can help our revolution finish the year strong by funding our campaign to get Nina over the finish line. If you are already a movement builder, thank you. And if not, please sign up at the link in the chat or press *3 if you're calling in, and an operator will take your information.
Senator Nina Turner is leading in the polls, but she's not just competing with her primary opponents. She's fighting the whole establishment, dark money, and dishonest propaganda. One operative even sent out a mailer claiming that SNT doesn't support Medicare for all or the fight for 15. Seriously. As our Revolution Executive Director Joseph Gavaris told the Columbus Dispatch, this election will test whether grassroots progressive energy can still deliver victories against the forces of big money in politics.
In fact, people power can defeat the elite, as Joseph says, but we must organize to win. That's why our Revolution Ohio is mobilizing a massive ground game. With early voting underway, our Revolution Ohio members have made over 191,000 voter contacts, including face-to-face voter engagement, texts, phone calls, and emails to counter the establishment's untruthful ads and mailers. We're approaching endgame. The primary is in just 2 weeks. So now, what you've all been waiting for, here's Larry back to introduce Senator Nina Turner.
I couldn't be more excited than to bring back our leader, our sister, Senator Nina Turner. She first came on our Revolution call where I had the privilege of introducing her in January. Now we're only 2 weeks away from this election. And what I said in January was, just imagine, pause for a second or two, Senator Nina Turner as Congresswoman Nina Turner. And what that means in terms of all of our fights, what that means in terms of strengthening the Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, bringing them together as they once were. What that means in terms of the fight for $15, which has not gone away just because Congress didn't pass it. What that means in terms of workers' rights. What that means in terms of the environment and ending fossil fuel subsidies. What that means in terms of racial justice and the George Floyd Act. The list goes on and on. But in these 2 weeks, over 1,000 Our Revolution volunteers have stepped up already to help in Ohio 11. Many of them, as you just heard, live in the district and are knocking on doors. But most of them do not. Most of them live around the country. On Sunday afternoon alone, I learned that there were almost 100 Our Revolution volunteers texting Our Revolution members in Ohio about early voting. This election is all about turnout. 25,000 votes is likely to win. But we've got to turn out our 5,000 Our Revolution supporters and members in that district. So I couldn't be happier than to bring back again the last time she'll speak to us before she wins this primary election on August 3rd, my sister, our friend, our leader, Senator Nina Turner.
Thank you, Chair, so very much. To the Our Revolution Team National, thank you for everything that you're doing. To Our Revolution Ohio, oh my God, you all are in here doing the daggone thing. How Kristen, thank you so much for moderating tonight and just leading the charge. I appreciate everything that Our Revolution is doing and all of the movement folks. Each and every one of you are leaders in your own right. You don't have to have a fancy elected title to be a leader. You don't have to have an elected fancy title to be in a movement that is pursuing justice. And that is exactly what our movement is doing. As the chair has reminded me time and time again, and I received this in the most holistic way, that this movement is not just about any one individual, no matter how great that individual is. It's about all of us collectively. Yes, I'm seeing titles are good, but purpose is better. Hellraiser, humanitarian, with these hands. Hello, somebody. All of that is coming up in the chat. And all of that is so, so real. As Hal and Kristen has laid out, we don't have a whole lot of time. We have less than 2 weeks, or we're approaching 2 weeks right now left in this race, and the corporatists are throwing everything. The status quo seekers and keepers are throwing everything that they got at us to try to stop this movement, but we will not be stopped. So we need you now more than ever to help complement what Our Revolution Ohio is doing and what so many other progressive groups and individuals are doing to show them that in the Midwest, baby, in the Midwest, we can elect a progressive in the 11th Congressional District. We have been running a very strong, very positive race, but the dark money groups did not want to let that continue. Our number one competitor invited these groups in. There's an Intercept article that's available, and I know Alina and I think Anton is on here too. They should put that article in the chat for you to see for yourself. But out of 13 candidates, there's only one candidate that literally invited via their website a dark money to come into this race, and they have come, and they're coming with a fury. But guess what? I still believe that there is no force on the face of this earth that is more powerful than a conscious-minded, justice-seeking people on the move, and we are that. All of the issues that we are standing for and fighting for is to turn the body politic in this country to help it to bend closer to the will of the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class. And I am proud of the work that Our Revolution is doing, not just to help candidates like myself, but also to push policy all across this country and to push this movement and to tell the truth about what is happening, even when we like some of the policies that are being brought forward in DC, but we know that we can do more. Poverty is a policy choice. Not dealing with climate chaos is a policy choice. Not increasing the minimum wage is a policy choice. Not making sure that people can unionize is a policy choice. Not canceling student debt is a policy choice. But guess what the beautiful thing, family, is? We can make new choices and make new policies. And that is why our movement is so important to the whole, to the greater good of both this country and also the world. So listen, I need you. Text, call, make calls, text, donate what you can. This movement is pushing this election, this campaign. We have raised $4.5 million. If we were going head to head with our competition, we are running circles around them. But with the dark money in, they are outspending us on TV, on radio, on literature. Every time somebody opens their mailbox, they're receiving something negative and nasty about me. And as Christian laid out, they even had the pure, unadulterated gall to send out a mailer saying that I don't support Medicare for all, increasing the minimum wage, or immigration reform. There is no depth too low for these people to go. But you know what? With these hands, baby, we are going to win this race. This is turnout now. Don't worry about what the polls have to say. Sister Turner, I want to assure you, I'm still up in the polls by double digits, but I want you to don't worry about what the polls say. Polls are snapshots in time. Ultimately is what the voters of the 11th Congressional District have to say. And I need you, whether you live in this district or not, to help us turn out the vote so we can win. The chairman laid out that this might be a very low voter turnout, and it very well may be. Unfortunately, during the presidential election, My county, did not perform as well, even in a presidential. In the city that I live in, the turnout rate was abysmal. You might want to ask the question why. We can answer that at another time. One of the reasons, though, I will say to you is that we have to change the material conditions of people in this country if we want them to keep voting. One of the reasons why in the poorest city of its size in the nation that I believe that a lot of my sisters and brothers and family and friends did not show up is because we, the collective we, and especially those who hold fancy titles and are elected to office, are not changing their material conditions. And so they basically saying the hell with it. We got to get those people back. We got to get them to understand that even if they mad as hell, they got to go out there and vote so that we can do a new thing. So please, our revolution family, keep doing what you're doing. I need you to do it more. I need you to do it quicker. 15 days and counting. Chair, thank you so much for everything. Our Revolution, Joseph, and to the entire Our Revolution team, to Diane and Our Revolution Ohio, and to all of my sisters and brothers, family and friends all over this country. Thank you for pouring into this campaign. I want to say one other thing is I thank you that we have raised money in every single state in this country plus DC. That is a big deal. You know why that is a big deal? Because there are people all over this country who believe that this race will have an impact on our movement and the greater work that we are doing. It also affirms that this race is not about one person, that is not just about the 11th congressional district, that people really do believe that by electing me indirectly, I will have an impact on all that we love. And that is a truism. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, what affects one directly affects us all indirectly. So I am excited about this race. Come on through Our Revolution, bring some folks with you, and let's go ahead to victory and win this race.
Thank you so much, Senator Nina Turner. That was just tremendous. It's beautiful. Every time we talk to you, it's just so exciting. And I just have a quick question. Maybe Larry can unmute it. He can complete the interview, but you've got a really exciting canvassing day coming up this Saturday. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, I just got done canvassing, which is why I'm in my car parked in a parking lot of my favorite grocery store to jump on this call. But yes, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is coming to the district starting on Friday. We're going to have big canvassing on Saturday and also on Sunday. So we need you, wherever you are in Ohio or in this country, if you can make it into this state to do canvassing, we would love, love, love to have you. That is why the Congresswoman is coming here to help us expand the canvassing depth that we have by attracting more volunteers into this district to go knock on those doors. I am really excited to have the endorsement, Hal, I'm glad you brought that up, of the Congressional Progressive Caucus as a whole. And then there are individual Congress people like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, like Congresswoman Jayapal, and so many others who are really helping us in the 11th Congressional District. So please, 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 we're going to text bank, we're going to phone bank, and then people are going to actually come into the district to be with myself and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez as we knock on doors to drive out the vote. Early voting is happening right now, and it goes until August the 2nd. So people can vote right now through August the 2nd. And as we all know, August the 3rd is the day, election day in this primary.
It's tremendous. And again, so excited. I'll be out there. I'll be seeing you this weekend. And
awesome.
Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Nina, and I'm just putting in the chat right now the link. So anyone who wants to join us, join you, of course, and the Congress member can do so. That's AOC for Nina. We wish you.
Hey, Hal, I want to say also another one of our brothers is coming into the district, and Chair, you will be excited. You probably already know this, but our very own Ben Jealous is coming into the district. He'll be here this Thursday. He'll be handling the Akron part of the district. Many of you know that he supported Senator Bernie Sanders. We were on the 2016 campaign together, and he was the president of the national NAACP. So I'm so excited that Brother Ben Jealous is coming into the district as well.
And Brother Keith Ellison will be with you before this election is over.
Yes, sir.
Richard Rodriguez from our board. But most importantly, what I want to stress for people on this call, because there are thousands, you can volunteer. It was in the chat. We'll put it in again. And wherever you are, you can text, you can make phone calls to turn out the 5,000 Our Revolution supporters who live in that district, who can make a huge difference in an election where 25,000 votes will send Nina Turner to a general election with basically no opponent in November and then into the Congress.
Thank you so much, Larry and Senator Nina. And I feel so honored to be part of an organization that counts these two as among our very, very top leaders since I joined. Do you want to see Nina in Congress? If so, you can make it happen. We keep talking about it. We will keep doing so. You can sign up to volunteer and phone bank and get out the vote. ourrev.us/call4Nina. And again, if you aren't already a member, please do consider joining our revolution. Your recurring membership will support our work to elect progressive champions, including Senator Nina. Every new member receives a personalized Movement Builder membership card in the mail. Sign up at the link in the chat or press *3 if you're calling in, and an operator will take your information.
Thank you, Senator Turner. Our next guest is also facing a tough election fight, but Jeremiah Ellison is the incumbent in his Minneapolis City Council race. George Floyd's murder put him at the center of the movement to rethink policing in our cities. Jeremiah is leading the fight to dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department, create a Department of Public Safety, and give the council some legislative control over the police. Jeremiah, welcome to our call. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this effort and your campaign for re-election?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on this call with all of you and to be on this call with all of the wonderful electeds. Nina Turner has been a big inspiration and, probably doesn't remember, but we've had the opportunity to door knock together here in Minneapolis a couple of years ago. And it's just such a joy to be on this call and to see you on your road to victory in the next couple of days here. Here in Minneapolis, we're facing what I would call a centrist backlash, a conservative backlash to this call to change how we keep our neighbors safe here in Minneapolis. We have long been reliant on a police-only model that quite frankly has resulted in things like George Floyd. George Floyd is a name that people know all over the world, but people don't know Jamar Clark. People don't know Terrence Franklin. People don't know these other people who have been killed by the Minneapolis Police Department. And I believe that we could create a system that keeps our neighbors safe, that allows us to address all of the issues that our neighbors face. But let's be honest, when folks are using a fake $20 bill, for example, or allegedly using a fake $20 bill, when folks are in the throes of a mental health crisis, when there are disputes, noise complaints between neighbors, we don't need men with guns to be responding to those issues. And the effort that we're trying to lead here, that I'm trying to be a part of leading here in Minneapolis, is to say that there's a better way to keep our neighbors safe. And so the call is not to put less investment in safety. The call is to say more investment in safety does not equal more investment in policing. And so here in my race, I'm facing a number of challengers, and I think what they all want is for us to return back to the status quo. They want an elected who's going to sort of bend to the political pressure that is going to be put on by our police, by the Police Federation. They want to go back to a system where council members are less active in the governing of the city and where you just sort of relegate things to the mayor. And I'm not fighting for that. I'm fighting to be an active player. For those that don't know on the call, North Minneapolis is a place where historically the city has placed what I would say it's quote unquote less desirable populations, right? In the 40s, that meant that Jewish immigrants were placed in North Minneapolis. Later, black folks were placed in North Minneapolis as a way to sort of put us out of the way. And so we've got a long history of historic divestment that I'm working to undo. I've done a lot of policy work on the housing front, on the economic development front, to battle gentrification while also still increasing wealth creation for communities here locally. And so these are all things, this is a long legacy for me to help undo in our city. And we've got some folks who are interested in seeing us sort of revert back to keep the lights on situation. But I really appreciate you all having me on this call and all the support that you all the energy that you all bring in helping us challenge the system.
Thank you so much, Council Member. So if anybody has any questions, please use the Q&A box or write it in the chat. I do have a question for you. A lot of us are nervous. Anyone in working class is nervous about the end to the moratoriums on evictions. So another key issue that you're working on is tenant protections.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're hoping to accomplish? And then can you maybe link how policing and housing go together?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, these issues are incredibly interconnected. We find that where there's housing instability, there's homelessness. There is there is more violence and inter-community violence as well, which obviously leads to further police encounters and eventually just a general criminalization of all the people in our community. And so the two issues are definitely linked. We're lucky enough in Minnesota that our state legislature is giving us a bit of an off-ramp from this eviction moratorium that we have. That being said, I still think that we are sort of headed for what a lot of folks are referring to as the eviction cliff. And that's a lot of people hitting the streets at once because they can't afford to pay their rent. Even if we get it delayed, I still think it's coming. I'm working on a policy, a couple of policies. One is what's called a pay or quit notice. This is a notice pre-eviction filing. So a lot of the issues that folks face in their housing is that they'll have an eviction filing on their record. And even if they never get evicted, even if they beat it in court, the filing is there and it affects their ability to get housing in the future. And so what we're trying to do is create a law that says before you even file an eviction against someone, you've got to give them a pre-notice. So we passed a 14-day notice. We're trying to we're working with our attorneys to pass an even longer notice, 21 days, 30-day notice, because we know that emergency assistance, rental assistance from the county can take some time, can take more than 14 days. But 14 days is what we felt like we could legally do immediately. And so now we're working on trying to figure out what we can do to extend that. Another thing that we're working on is a just cause. It's called just cause eviction, but really it's a just cause non-renewal ordinance. And it would say that, hey, just because somebody's eviction or somebody's lease has run out, if you don't have a good reason to evict that person, you cannot evict that person. The fear is that a lot of landlords who are resenting their tenants for going months without paying their rent won't necessarily evict them, file an eviction against them. They'll just wait until the lease runs out and then push them out and then not renew with them for basically no reason. And so we're trying to pass a just cause non-renewal ordinance as well. A couple of years ago, I was able to pass what's called a limited look back policy. That means that there's a limit in how much somebody's criminal history or their eviction history can affect their future housing opportunity. And it eliminates credit scores being used as a way to disqualify people from housing. And we also passed a security deposit cap. We found that in poor neighborhoods, you had folks being charged double deposits, triple deposits. And so we put a security deposit cap so that folks could just pay the one deposit, pay their first month's rent and get into that housing.
Thank you. Yeah, those would all be so helpful for tenants and helping them feel empowered in a bad situation. You are really working hard to reform and drastically change how we deal with policing and safety. And a lot of establishment Dems keep trying to tell us progressives that the phrase defund the police is going to actually win elections for Republicans. And you did mention that we might be seeing some spikes in shooting numbers in cities right now. But the good news is, we just helped Larry Krasner win in a landslide victory for re-election as the Philadelphia DA. And he had strong opposition from the Fraternal Order of Police in his race. So what do you say to those detractors and those who are against the defund the police phrase?
I would say that it feels to me like the candidates who end up losing their races to Republicans are the ones that don't take a stand, that don't take a strong stand. Folks who build a strong principled stance Like Nina, because she's on the call and I'm really excited to be on the same call with her. These are the folks who are paving a road to victory. Locally here, the challengers who are doing the best in these elections are the progressive challengers in other districts. And so I think this notion that that this call to action from activists on the ground, and let's remember that it is not up to elected officials, myself included, to tell activists on the ground what their slogans get to be, what their calls to action get to be. It's on us to understand how can we take this into the governing realm? How can we take this into the policy realm? How can we make change? How can we save lives? How can we prevent the next George Floyd? I would say that we're seeing progressives be able to win elections. And we're seeing that as much as people try rhetorically to link this call to drastically transform how we keep people safe in our country to spikes in violence, the evidence doesn't bear that out. It's all narrative. It's all rhetoric. The truth is that we're still making our way through a pandemic. We're still making our way through millions of people being put out of work. And even as people are getting back into work, we're seeing millions of people be underinsured or underemployed, not having enough hours, not having high enough wages. Those things are all going to lead to violent crime in our cities. If we can address those issues, then we create safer communities. And nobody can convince me that 4 officers, deciding to murder somebody on the corner is making our community safer. Nobody can convince me that officers who want to shoot someone in the back while they're running away or anything like that is making our community safer. When we can help people going through a mental health crisis, that's what makes our community safer. When we can send non-police responses to folks who might be experiencing ODs or homelessness, that's what makes our community safer. So I think we're going to continue to win. I think we're going to continue proving them wrong. And I think that if you've got Democratic candidates that want to win, they better decide what their position is when it comes to saving lives in our country, when it comes to standing against abuses of power in our country.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the stressors that you mentioned, which would put people on edge, it comes down to potentially a break in your mental health. One of our members wants to ask if you are aware of efforts to create like an emergency phone number, perhaps a 988, where someone could get mental health experts and answer the call rather than people resorting to 911?
I'm not aware of that specific effort, but I would love to learn more about it. I can tell you here locally, what we're doing is we're building out a mental health response that we're incorporating into our 911 system. I'm sure we're going to be spending the next couple of months working out bugs. When are we sending them versus sending the police, right? It's a new approach, but I think that's been one of the major barriers to mental health response so far, is that we haven't had one integrated into a simple 3-digit code. Locally, the county has had a mental health response for a number of years, but you got to know the 7-digit number in order to get access to it. And so people forget it. People don't think to call when they're feeling that sense of emergency. So what we're doing now is we're building a response, an emergency response that can be integrated into 911. But I think creating something that like 988 could be also an incredible alternative, and I'm interested in learning more about it.
That's terrific. Progressives helping each other out. That's what our revolution is all about. So thank you so much. We love candidates who have a backbone. And I get to now make the happy announcement that our revolution is officially endorsing you, Jeremiah Ellison, for re-election to the Minneapolis City Council for Ward 5.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That means a lot to me. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I'm really excited and proud to be a part of this team and be a part of this movement.
Thank you so much. Thank you for running, and thanks for joining us.
All right, guys, that was awesome. What a great interview, Kristen. Thank you so much. And I don't think there's anything I like better. There's no part of my job, no aspect of this work that I like better than when we endorse great candidates like Jeremiah Ellison, when we speak to amazing candidates like Senator Nina Turner, who just happened to be the president of this organization. I mean, that is what it's all about. And we are all, we elect progressive champions, we move progressive policies, but you can't have the latter without the former. It's great candidates, it's great winners, politicians who win races like Councilman Ellison, like Senator Nina, that make it possible for us to make this country what it should be. And we're going to keep fighting that fight. Our next guest is also a fighter. She is going to bring about the same changes in the Big Apple, the city of New York, as Councilmember Ellison is in Minnesota and Minneapolis. And of course, Senator Nina Turner is across our nation as she represents the 11th District of Ohio. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Felicia Singh, where she is running in New York for Queens Council, District 32. Felicia Singh won the primary. She is a teacher and community organizer. She will be the Democratic challenger to the one Republican member of the New York City Council from the county of Queens. She is focused on increasing voter turnout in a majority minority immigrant populated district. She has 2 working class immigrant parents. She is the first in her family to earn a high school diploma and college degrees. And when she wins in November, she will become one of the first South Asians on the New York City Council. Her platform is centered on education equity and environmental justice. Welcome to the call, Felicia Singh.
Thank you, everyone at Our Revolution. I am so deeply honored to be here and excited to share space with all of you. And what an honor to hear from Senator Nina Turner and Jeremiah Ellison. Thank you so much for your powerful words and your fight every day. And thank you to all of our organizers who are showing up to expand the electorate, to get out the vote, and really propel our movement forward. It's because of you we're all here. I'm Felicia Singh. I'm the Democratic nominee for City Council District 32 in South Queens. I am a teacher and daughter of working class immigrants. And I use these 2 adjectives to describe my work because education is deeply rooted in our ability to uplift our communities. And our working class communities are the ones who've been continuously left behind over and over again in City Council, in New York City. We are the people who uplift and built this city. And we are the ones that need to finally be centered in legislation, in policy, in funding. And I'm so ready to be the candidate, to be the Democratic nominee to do just that. I'm running in a city council district, the only city council district, in fact, in Queens that is Republican. The GOP has held this seat for the last 12 years. And what that has really meant is the deep erasure of our POC communities here, of our immigrant communities, of our youth, and of our people. When I decided to run, so many people said, no one is gonna vote for a South Asian woman here. That when I knock on doors, people are going to say really, really racist and terrible things to my face. But what we saw happen was courage and love and joy and all of our community coming out to vote. We expanded the electorate by 4,000 in an area of South Queens that has one of the lowest voter turnouts in Queens history. To expand it, it meant we had to knock on the doors of people whose doors have never been knocked on. It meant we needed to call our neighbors in different languages like Bangla and Spanish and Chinese and Polish to make sure they felt seen and heard and understood our policies and our values. When you lead with courage, you lead with this deep understanding that environmental resilience, that education, that fully funding our schools, that fully funding our communities are the core of what's going to bring us forward as a movement. Candidates change, policy needs don't. They remain the same over years and years and years. I want to build a community in District 32 that's going to stand long after me. And in order to do that, I need to win this general election, the most competitive general election in New York City. For the last 12 years, like I said, with GOP representation, we've been low resourced here in our community, and it's about time we change that. We can change that together, and you can join me by doing that right now at felicia2021.com/volunteer. It is a deep honor to be here and share space with all of you, and I cannot wait to have you volunteer with us as we flip the only district in Queens from red to blue. Thank you.
So tell us, Felicia, about the specific challenges that you face running against a Republican. Throughout the city, the big decision is usually made in the Democratic primaries. Certainly that's what happened when AOC prevailed in 2018. How is it different running against a member of the GOP?
In this case, this member of the GOP is also the chair member of Queens GOP. We're looking at someone who is a Trump Republican. We're looking at someone who has friends who were insurrectionists on January 6th. We know that she has really built a platform on public safety. And what that means is more policing. And what I am going to do and what I've been saying is what it looks like to expand safety in our community. I live in a coastal district as well. So we were terribly impacted by Hurricane Sandy. There's no other candidate talking about the fact that there's a deep need for climate resiliency here. And that when I open my door and there's heavy rain and I can't leave my home because of flooding, that makes me unsafe. When I can't get the same resources as the neighborhood 5 minutes away from me because I don't have a computer at home or I don't have Wi-Fi, you know what? That makes me unsafe. That makes me ill prepared to learn, to grow, to have an opportunity of upward mobility. So when we expand public safety and when we talk about what safety really means and the crux of it all, that it's about investment and love and it's about deep community care, that's what differentiates me from the GOP candidate. That's what's going to get us to win. And it's really about the work of re-educating our communities. This community has been so reliant on the same forms of public safety that we don't know anything else. We only have one avenue for our own safety, and it's about time we change that. That's how we'll do it.
So we have time for a little bit more discussion, maybe a couple more minutes. You mentioned the flooding problems due to the climate crisis, and that certainly explains why your platform is centered on environmental justice. I also mentioned in the introduction, Felicia, education equity. Is education a problem in the District 32?
Yeah, I encompass school district 27, which is actually one of the school districts that is the most lowest performing in New York City. We're a deeply segregated school system that has been low resourced. In fact, I just came from a community education council meeting where we talked about data from our last state tests, and all of our children who fall within our Black community, our Hispanic community, performed exponentially lower than our white communities here. Our children with disabilities had proficiency levels at 20.7%. That means that we have deeply neglected a huge chunk of our community, a huge chunk of our youth who are students with disabilities, who are multi-language learners. And we've defunded them over the last couple of years and left them at low performing. So what do we need to do? Invest in early literacy. We need to make sure that all of our schools have equitable funding. We need to make sure that we are not getting rid of culturally responsive teaching and critical race theory in our schools, and talking about how our school staff and our teachers at all levels play an incremental role in the classroom and making sure all our students learn and are successful.
All right, and final question before we go. We do know that the New York City Council is likely to be the most progressive in 50 years, if ever. Your joining that council would only move it even further to the left. Do you see great things happening in New York as a result?
Absolutely. I mean, this is such an amazing time to see something that people thought could never happen, that no, New York City's might be progressive, but we're really democratically moderate. That's just not true. What you're seeing are candidates doing something that have never been done before. We're teaching and we're learning from our communities. That is how we organize. That's how we will continue to organize. And that's how we will lead with the progressive values that are necessary to uplift our community. I can't wait to be a part of that cohort. And of course, with everyone's help, hopefully I'll be able to do that come November 2nd on my election day.
Wow, what a pleasure to speak to you. What an honor. We wish you at Our Revolution the very best. We will speak to you soon, we hope. Thank you so much, Felicia Singh.
Thank you.
And now let me just again reiterate our movement builder ask. If you aren't already a member, please do consider joining our revolution. Your recurring membership does help support our work to elect great progressive champions like Senator Nina Turner, like Council Member Jeremiah Ellison, and like soon to be New York City Council Member Felicia Singh. Every new member receives a personalized movement builder membership card in the mail. Please sign up at the link in the chat or just press *3 if you're calling in, and an operator will take your information.
All right, we need some action now. This is what your membership dollars are helping fund. The dialer is not cheap. So pick up the phone and say, hello, somebody, because our progressive champion, our very own Senator Nina Turner, is in that tough campaign for Ohio's 11th district, 11th congressional seat. So election day is now 15 days away, Tuesday, August 3rd. Early voting has already started. We need to pull out all the stops and combat the Democratic establishment's tricks and their desperate attempts to stop her. So we can help Nina Turner by getting on the Our Revolution Ohio's phone banks. They hold them every Wednesday and Sunday evenings, and you can make calls for Nina. Just click the link in the chat. It's ourrev.us/call4Nina. And the other actions we can do to support Senator Turner is canvassing. Get out in Ohio, and we have a special event coming up on Saturday. You can canvass with AOC for SNT. Very excited. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is canvassing this Saturday for Senator Nina Turner. You can join them. Hal is even traveling up to go and be with them. Please click on the link. It's ourrev.us/AOC4Nina. And then another call to action we're having is we want you to call your senators about expanding Medicare to cover hearing, vision, and dental care. 83% of voters, an overwhelming majority, want this action, and we can't let Congress pass up the chance to reform our healthcare system for the better. Right now, with the budget reconciliation process, we have the historic opportunity to expand guaranteed healthcare coverage to millions of Americans. We want to generate as many calls to Congress, so please share this link widely. It's going to be ourrev.us/expand-Medicare. And that will send you to the dialer and you'll connect directly to your senators. Please make those calls morning, noon, and night.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much. We just have a couple more slides to go. And when it comes to ending fossil fuel subsidies and breaking our dependence on that dirty black stuff, we do have an incredible opportunity to take action in the fight to save our planet. We can end fossil fuel subsidies that do make it cheap and easy for fossil fuel companies to drill and exploit our planet. Help us end the big oil bailout. And that's also the big coal bailout, the big natural gas bailout. That's at ourrev.us/end subsidies. Let's end the burning of our planet. This is going to be the topic of our call this Sunday to Massachusetts. Funding matters. And if we are going to start to undo the damage that 250 years of ever-increasing fossil fuel extraction and consumption have done to our planet, we must cut off the funding provided by the financial services industry and federal subsidies, our taxpayer-funded subsidies that we give to the oil and gas and coal industries. Join the conversation with Our Revolution Massachusetts on Sunday, the 25th.
And Our Revolution Ohio corrected me. The phone banks are going practically all week long. So you can call on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Click that link and you get your options available to you. Please call for Nina. I have the the last slide of the evening, and it is to say thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. We are just coming in at the 1 hour mark. So a special thanks to all of our volunteers, all of our donors, and everyone who's signed up to be a sustaining member. We cannot do this work without you. Before we sign off, we have to do our chant. Let's do it 3 times. Everybody online, I say when we organize, and you say we win. When we organize,
We win.
when we organize,
We win.
win. When we organize,
We
We win.
thank you so much. Good night.